everyone, this is Access Chapter 2, Pause and Practice number 3, Movie number 1. So this is the last pause and practice for this chapter, but it's really an important one because it has some concepts in here that are important to understand when you're dealing with relational databases. Up to now, we have only dealt with a single table. But, you know, in a real database, you have multiple tables. And so you need to understand how tables are related. Not all tables are related to other tables, but a table should be related to at least one other table. So, and how they're related is by a linking field, if you will. So, if we're looking at this structure that we're going to build for this new table, it is a service table, okay? So in this service table, we want to collect information about the history of these pieces of equipment that we have here, right? So we have all of these pieces of equipment. So we want to collect information about, you know, all kinds of maintenance, whether it broke down and they had to fix it, whether you're doing preventative maintenance, those type of things. So we want to keep a record, a history of, you know, this skip loader 4x4, this tractor, when was the oil changed? What's the, you know, tires? When did it get new tires? What's those type of things? So that information can't be in this table because for this skip loader, you might have many pieces of or records or times that this data about maintenance is applied to the skip loader. But let's say this level site laser, there's not much preventative maintenance or maintenance that you do with that. So maybe there's one, maybe you have to change out a battery or whatever, I don't know. Where this one you might have many. So how we would have no way of putting that information in here. So we need to pull that out into its own table so that every row in the new table would be a service item. And what we would do is apply it against an equipment ID. So in the service table, you could have this skip loader 147 many times. Well, we know in this table 1047 can appear only one time because it's the primary key. Primary keys have to be unique. So in the equipment table, or I'm sorry, in the service table, 10047 appears many times, so we know it can't be the primary key. But it is what's known as a foreign key. So a foreign key is a field in a table that is a primary key in another table. All right, let me say that again. A foreign key is a field in a table that is a primary key in a different table, in another table. Technically, that's you can have it a foreign key within the same, but for all of our examples, it's going to be that way. And then, so then that second table will have its own primary key, which would only repeat once, but that foreign key would repeat many times. So what we're doing there is, if we think about this service record, and let's look at the skip loader, 10047, there's one record in the equipment table. There could be many records in the service history table. So we would say the relationship between the equipment table and the service history table is a one to many. that one piece of equipment could appear many times in the service history, which would make sense, right? You can service each of these pieces of equipment many times. If you look at an individual piece of, a record in the service table, it would only point back to one equipment piece in the equipment table. So that is a one-to-many relationship. The other kind of relationship between tables could be a one-to-one. It's not as common, and that would be really where you would have extra information about something. For example, on here we could have another table where maybe there's I don't know, like I don't know what could be in here. I'm blanked on it. Extra information about this piece of information, but we don't want it in this table because we don't need to see it all the time. Maybe like a VIN numbers. I don't know. In this example, I'm blanking. And then the third kind of relationships is a many-to-many. And a many-to-many in Access cannot exist between two tables. You must have a junction or intersection table, something in between. If you watched watched my movies where I was talking about the used car lot, and we had salesmen, and we had customers, and we have cars. Those are three different tables. None of those have a relationship except if they're through a sale. So a customer is related to a vehicle through the purchase of that vehicle. Now, that customer could, in theory, buy multiple cars, so that relationship and a car could be purchased by more than one customer if it's returned and then repurchased. So, but none of that would exist without that intersection or junction table. Okay, and I don't think we're doing that in this one. So those are the types of relationships. And the foreign key is a field in, and it's usually in that many. It's in that many table. So in a one-to-many relationship, the many table, it's the repeated field name from the one table and it's the primary key in that one table. You never repeat data from table to table unless it's a linking field, right? So unless it's the primary foreign key. The other thing is referential integrity is another big concept, guys, and that is when you enforce referential integrity, you're saying that the child table, which would be that many table, a record can't exist pointing back to a one table or the parent table if it doesn't exist in the parent table. So for this example, if you are putting in a service history record against a piece of equipment, that piece of equipment has to exist in the equipment table. You can't put a piece of information about servicing a piece of equipment if the equipment doesn't exist. Setting referential integrity on prohibits you from putting something in the child table that the parent doesn't exist for. All right, so that's all hard to understand until you see it. So let's go ahead and stop this movie here, and I'll actually pick the next movie up working on the pause and practice. All right, guys, thank you.